My name's Alexandra. At 67, my life is measured in the steady, mechanical heartbeat of gears and springs. Since my husband Mark passed away, the silence in our home has been heavy, broken only by the ticking of the hundreds of clocks I repair in my small downtown Chicago workshop. I live in a modest apartment kept exactly as Mark liked it, organized, clean, and filled with memories. On my shelf sits my favorite photo, the day our only daughter, Emily, was born. Mark looked exhausted but radiant, and I held her like she was made of the finest crystal. Emily is my world, but her marriage took her into a world where I don't belong. She married Nathan Sterling, a man from a traditional family of old Chicago money. From our first dinner, I felt the chill. They didn't see a master artisan. They saw a woman with grease under her fingernails. Last Thursday, Nathan called, his voice as cold as a winter lake. "Alexandra, I'm calling to invite you to my mother's 60th birthday gala this Saturday at 8 o'clock, he said, adding that Emily had insisted I come. I knew he didn't want me there, but for Emily, I would endure anything. Black tie, Alexandra, Nathan added pointedly, reminding me that his mother, Penelope, was a stickler for punctuality. After hanging up, I felt a familiar knot in my stomach. I spent Saturday morning preparing my only formal dress, an old navy blue gown that Mark always said made my eyes sparkle. I had saved for months to buy Penelope a gift that might earn a sliver of her respect. I visited a local jeweler and chose a Victorian silver frame. It cost me 3 weeks of wages, but as the jeweler said, silver never goes out of style. The Sterling estate was a 2-hour drive into the wealthy suburbs. I set off early in my 1980 Ford truck, well maintained, but a dinosaur compared to the German luxury cars that would be at the gala. I imagined the whispers at my antique vehicle, but I kept driving for my daughter. Halfway there, I saw a sleek black sedan pulled over on the shoulder. A man in an expensive suit was waving for help, looking desperate. I hesitated, glancing at the clock. If I stopped, I'd be late. But Mark always taught me that a person in need is more important than a party. So I pulled over. The man at the car was Arthur Harrison, a man who looked like he ruled the world but was now in despair. My driver lost consciousness, an ambulance took him, and I have a meeting where thousands of lives depend on me, he explained. I saw that his spare tire was stuck. Without a second thought, I crawled under the car. Dirt and road dust flew onto my formal dress, and my hands were quickly covered in thick black grease. 15 minutes later, the tire was changed, and Arthur watched me with pure admiration. He reached for his checkbook to thank me. I wiped my hands and shook my head. "Keep your money, Arthur. Just remember that kindness sometimes arrives in an old truck." I was already late. I glanced at my ruined dress, now covered in oil stains, and rushed toward the Sterlings, hoping Emily would understand. When I reached the mansion, it was 8:30 p.m. The valet looked at my old Ford like it was a pile of trash. I stepped out, trying to hide the stains on my dress with the gift box. Nathan met me at the door, his face twisted with rage. "You're 30 minutes late," he hissed. "And look at you. You look like a vagrant." He claimed his mother was right about me being untrustworthy, not giving me a single second to explain what happened on the road. Then Penelope arrived, shimmering in diamonds. "Good heavens, what is that smell?" Penelope asked, covering her nose with a silk handkerchief. "Alexandra, is that engine oil?" Coming to my jubilee looking like this is a spit in the face to our entire family. The guests began to whisper, their voices snaking through the hall. Emily ran over, her eyes filled with tears, asking what had happened. I tried to explain that someone needed help, but Nathan cut me off. He told Emily that I simply didn't respect them and preferred tinkering with iron over looking decent for her family. Penelope snatched the silver frame from my hands. "Is this your gift? Pawnshop junk?" She sneered, throwing the box onto a side table. "Leave, Alexandra. Your presence is ruining the atmosphere. The valet will show you out the back so people don't think we host beggars." I returned to my empty workshop feeling crushed. The silver frame Penelope had called junk sat on my table. As I went to put it away, my clockmaker's eye noticed something. The back panel was slightly thicker than it should have been. Using a thin scalpel, I carefully opened a hidden gap. An old, yellowed photo and a tiny encrypted notebook fell out. The photo showed a young Penelope with shady characters, and the notebook revealed their old money was actually the result of a massive insurance scam 40 years ago. While I studied the discovery, the phone rang. It was Arthur Harrison. "Alexandra, I found your number through your truck's records," he said. He invited me to a private investors gala that Monday, wanting to officially introduce the woman who saved his reputation. I looked at the dirty dress in the corner and the evidence in my hands. "Arthur, I'll come, but I'll need your help to restore justice," I told him. We spoke for an hour, and Arthur was furious to hear how the Sterlings had treated me, promising they would never forget this Monday. On Sunday, Emily visited me in secret, crying and apologizing for Nathan. She felt she had to be ashamed of me to fit into their world. I held her and told her that soon she wouldn't have to choose between her family and a lie anymore. Monday morning, a black limousine arrived at my house. Arthur had sent the best stylists and tailors to emphasize my true self. I wore a deep emerald green gown and clutched the silver frame, which had now become my primary weapon. The investors' evening was held at the very hotel where the Sterlings were trying to close their biggest deal. They stood in the center of the hall, celebrating a victory they hadn't yet won. Nathan was laughing and Penelope was basking in praise, unaware that I was already there. The doors swung open. Arthur Harrison walked in with a woman whom no one recognized as the dull widow from the workshop. The room went silent as Penelope narrowed her eyes, trying to figure out who this elegant lady was that had stolen all the attention. Arthur and I walked slowly through the crowd. I felt hundreds of eyes on me, but I was focused on the Sterlings. Nathan was the first to see us. He choked on his wine, turning deathly pale. Penelope's glass nearly slipped from her hand as she stared. They tried to act as if everything was fine. Nathan stepped forward with a fake smile, trying to lie his way out of the situation. "Mr. Harrison, what an honor. I see you've met my mother-in-law. Alexandra loves to play tricks by dressing in work clothes sometimes," he stammered. Arthur didn't even look at him. He led me to the microphone on stage and announced to the room that he was there because of me. He told the crowd that while others were busy with silk ties, Alexandra the master had saved his life without fearing the road's mud. I stepped forward and opened the silver frame. "Penelope, you called this pawn shop junk," I said loudly. "But the real junk is your reputation, built on lies." I pulled out the notebook and the photograph, and a silence so thick it could be cut with a knife filled the room. I explained that the notebook contained records of an insurance payout for a burned warehouse that was actually empty 40 years ago. I pointed out the signatures of Nathan's father, George, and the photo of the family with the bribed inspectors. Penelope trembled and tried to have me removed, but no one moved. Arthur raised his hand, informing her that the security worked for him and the police were on their way. He declared that he wouldn't tolerate fraudsters and that all their accounts were frozen. Emily stepped out of the crowd, looking at Nathan as if seeing him for the first time. She asked if he knew his family were thieves while he made her ashamed of her mother. When he tried to grab her, she pushed him away and declared she was leaving with me. Events moved quickly after that night. The police investigation revealed that Penelope and George's schemes were just the tip of the iceberg. Their accounts were frozen, partners broke contracts, and the family that once ruled the city was now begging lawyers for help. Nathan lost everything. The bank seized his luxury apartment and car. He begged Emily to return, saying things could be fixed, but Emily had grown up. She filed for divorce and refused all alimony, wanting nothing to do with money that smelled of her mother's betrayal. Arthur Harrison kept his word. He helped with my legal defense and even bought the building where my workshop was, transferring full ownership to me. He told me the world needed more people who knew how to fix not just things, but justice itself. I hired Emily at the workshop, and it turned out she had a talent for fine work. She began learning the restoration of antique clocks. For the first time in years, we had peace, working side by side to the steady rhythm of mechanisms that no longer felt sad, but hopeful. One morning, I saw Nathan through the workshop window, looking shabby and pathetic. I went out to him, feeling only pity. I told him that time is the most honest judge and always shows what people are made of, hoping he'd learn to value people over gold. He said nothing and walked away. Emily began to bloom, trading designer clothes for comfortable work gear. She started laughing again, the bright laugh I remembered from her childhood. We began restoring the silver frame together, making it the symbol of our new family business, the clockmaker and daughter. The Sterlings' lives became a cycle of courtrooms. Penelope, stripped of her diamonds, became a shadow of herself, unable to look people in the eye. Their story became a lesson for the whole city. Wealth without honor is just shiny dust easily blown away by the truth. 2 years have passed, and life has found its perfect rhythm. My workshop is now the Academy of Time, where young masters learn restoration. Arthur Harrison is a frequent guest, and our joint work to preserve national heritage is thriving. The greatest gift was Emily's transformation. She became a leading restorer and met a man who values her soul, not her name, an architect who helped us restore the museum. Their wedding was simple and sincere, filled with the sound of antique clocks we fixed for the day. The Sterlings are a sad memory of the past. Nathan left town to start over, where no one knows his family's shame. And Penelope reportedly never forgave the world for no longer bowing to her. But their shadows no longer darken our doorstep. That roadside encounter with Arthur taught me that kindness is the world's hardest currency. My hands still smell of oil and there's grease under my nails, but now it's a badge of honor. I no longer hide my hands when I enter a room. The silver frame holds a place of honor in our workshop. It no longer holds secrets or evidence, but a photo of Emily and me in our work aprons. Dirty, but absolutely happy. This is our true inheritance. To the viewer, life often throws us trials to see if our hearts have rusted. You might be humiliated or called dirty, but remember, gold doesn't fear dirt. It just waits for its time to shine again. Time is the most honest master, erasing the fake and leaving only what was made with love and honor. Never fear helping a stranger on the road. They might just hold the key to your entire future. Thank you for walking this path with me.